Why you need to set boundaries. Let's talk about boundaries. We hear that word thrown around a lot, but have you ever stopped to think about what it actually means and why it's so important? Boundaries aren't just about saying no to others, they're about saying yes to yourself. They're about protecting your energy, your time, and your emotional well-being. Quick note, before we dive in, if you're into topics like personal growth and self-care, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You'll get more tips and insights to help you live your best life. But for some reason, so many of us struggle to set boundaries. Maybe we're afraid of hurting someone's feelings, or maybe we feel like setting boundaries makes us selfish. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary. 1. What are boundaries, really? Boundaries are simply limits that you set to protect your physical, emotional, and mental space. Think of them like a fence around your personal garden. Without a fence, anyone can walk in, trample the flowers, and leave a mess behind. But when you have clear boundaries, you're deciding who gets access to your time, energy, and emotions, and on what terms. 2. Why do we struggle with boundaries? A lot of people feel guilty about setting boundaries. Maybe you grew up in an environment where you were taught to put others first, or maybe you've been labeled as too nice, or a people pleaser. The idea of saying no can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're worried about how others might react. But here's the thing, if you're always saying yes to others, you're often saying no to yourself. 3. The cost of not setting boundaries. When you don't set boundaries, you're putting yourself at risk of burnout, resentment, and even toxic relationships. Think about it. How many times have you said yes to something you didn't want to do just to avoid conflict? How did it make you feel afterward? Probably drained, frustrated, or maybe even a little angry at yourself for not standing up for what you needed. Without boundaries, you end up overcommitting, overextending, and undervaluing your own needs. And that's not sustainable. Setting boundaries is about self-respect. One of the most important lessons I've learned is that boundaries are a form of self-respect. When you set boundaries, you're saying, I value myself and my needs. You're showing others how you want to be treated. And let's be clear, people who respect you will respect your boundaries. Those who don't, well, their reaction says more about them than it does about you. 5. Practical steps to start setting boundaries. Now, you might be wondering, how do I even start setting boundaries? Here are a few practical steps. Know your limits. Take some time to reflect on what makes you feel comfortable and what doesn't. Identify the areas in your life where you feel overextended or taken advantage of. Communicate clearly. When setting boundaries, be direct and honest. You don't have to over-explain or apologize. For example, if someone asks you to take on extra work, you can simply say, I don't have the capacity for that right now. Practice saying no. Saying no is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. Start small, maybe by declining a minor request, and build from there. Stand firm. Some people might test your boundaries, especially if they're not used to you setting them. Stay firm and remind yourself why you're doing this, for your own well-being. Quick note, if you're finding this topic helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights on personal growth and self-care. And if you know someone who struggles with boundaries, share this video with them. They might need to hear this too. 6. Boundaries are an act of love. At the end of the day, setting boundaries isn't just about protecting yourself. It's also about improving your relationships. Healthy boundaries create mutual respect and understanding. They prevent misunderstandings and resentment from building up. When you set boundaries, you're not just loving yourself. You're creating space for healthier, more meaningful connections with others. 7. Boundaries take practice. It's important to remember that setting boundaries is a process. It might feel awkward or uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to it. But with time, it gets easier. And the more you practice, the more you'll realize how much better you feel when you prioritize your needs. Conclusion. Setting boundaries isn't about being mean or shutting people out. It's about protecting your energy and creating a life that feels balanced and fulfilling. So, if you've been hesitating to set boundaries, I encourage you to start today. Start small, stay consistent, and remember, you're worth it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if this video resonated with you. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. What's one boundary you've struggled to set, and how are you working on it? See you in the next video.